So, good morning or good night, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to another album review of The Shield Dude on a Couch. I'm your host, Hector, and today we're going to talk about the brand new album by the band Announce the Apocalypse. And the new album is called Experience Machine. And this is a follow up to 2021's Nefarious Means. And on that album, the band started a concept, and the concept from that record continues on this album. So the main protagonist on the other album goes into the story, and on Nefarious Means, the world was going through a great plague and wars, and this is what happens after. So what happens after, the world, there's like a new president, and he claims that the world is going to be in order, but there's still riots and fights, and a war can erupt at any second. So the protagonists on this album, they explore loss and depression in a very deep way. So the protagonist goes. This being a concept record. Like every song follows a story. These are 13 tracks, 49 minutes, and you need to listen from the beginning to the end to understand the full concept. When I was listening to this record, I was reminded of two albums in particular. I was reminded of Operation Mindcrime by Queensryche and Coma Ecliptic by Between the Buried and Me, because it mixes those two type of concepts into one record. With Operation Mindcrime, there's on this record, there's different characters, and this album uses some people talking and also effects, which reminded me of that album when they do that. And the story is about this protagonist that after bad things happen in his life, he meets this doctor, and this doctor has a machine where he can immerse himself from his current reality and live a different life, which is something kind of similar to what Between the Buried and Me did in Coma Ecliptic, but different in what they mix on this album. And I like that the cohesiveness of the story, and that every character that's talking in the story, you can totally understand all the dialogue. So it's not that hard to follow the story. This is not an album that you can listen to, if you listen to singles not in order, there's some that you might not understand because there's a few interludes in the record. But they release 3 singles out of this record. They release In the Wake, Dying Words, and Forever the Pariah. So In the Wake and Dying Words, In the Wake is like the first song of the record, and it follows, after that it goes to Dying Words. And in the Wake, the protagonist, has, there's like a major rally and people protesting, and he comes to his house and his girlfriend is there, and she asks him to, to tell him how everything's been, but he's like, he doesn't want to talk about it, like he shuts her down. And musically, this song, In the Wake, has a lot of thrash and death elements to the songs. And then the story goes into Dying Words, where the girlfriend kills herself. So explores suicide and the aftermath of the pain that the protagonist is feeling. And Dying Words starts more slowly with a great introduction bass, and the way that the singer Dominic Ryan is singing on this is more ominous in tone, more low, and it feels more like a little bit doomy, but not in the music, more in the way that he's doing the lyrics. And it's a great song. It's more of a power ballad, if you will, but it's not a ballad, just in case, but it has that type of feel. The third single, Forever the Pariah, is more extreme. It's the most thrash death metal side of the band, and it has great soloing on it. So it's a side of the band that this album can shred. But there's other tracks on this album that for me stood out. Like, for example, the song Dr. Draven, which is the doctor that meets the protagonist after he's lost his girlfriend, and he's like, "Come with me, I have a machine, you can be happy." So he sells that experience of the machine. And that song is the most crossover thrash song on the record, and it's like a fun track. It's the closest that the band get to crossover thrash. and it's really good. It's got like a very like rapid delivery in the vocals and very fast. But the band on this record really go a lot into progressive metal territory, especially with some of the songs that are longer, and the bass really shines on a lot of these tracks. For example, their song like Upon the Riots and Experience Machine that explore more of that progressive side of the band. And I really love when they mix all these genres because they make it a more interesting experience, and it sounds like a band that is not afraid to experiment and get outside the box and play with different elements to give the story more depth. So why would I say that this is an album that is worth your time? So if you like concept albums, I think you will enjoy this. If you like thrash, death metal, you will also enjoy this. And I think, this is a more young band that is bringing these elements into the mix, and he's doing it rather quite well. And especially I like the ending of the album. So the ending of the album, the protagonist is in the machine and there's riots going out in the city, and there's like these noises that happen, and we don't know what happens to the protagonist. If he's still in the machine, did he die in the machine, or does he live? So it keeps you guessing. It's not that straightforward that you're like, oh, I know what happened. So I wonder, what will the band do next with this? Will they keep exploring this story moving forward, or move in a different direction? So if you want to know more about this album, I did interview the band. So I'm going to put the link somewhere around here so you can get to know more about Experience Machine and more about the concepts that are explored on this record. So I want to know from you guys, which track from Experience Machine is your favorite? If you haven't listened to Announce the Apocalypse, I would say listen to the singles, because they're a great band that mix thrash metal with death, and they hail from Tampa, Florida, if I didn't say that before. So until next time, this is Hector, the Shield Dude on a couch, and I'll see you right here on the couch. Thank you and goodbye.